Hi everyone, I hope you're all okay, having a good week, enjoying this lovely sunshine we've been having. I wanted to start just by clarifying something I said in my last message. I said that I can't cook. That's actually not strictly true. I cook a reasonably good roast dinner, for example. The truth is more that I don't have any interest in cooking, so I'm quite likely halfway through to think of something else I'd rather be doing, and then it all just goes wrong. Cooking a good meal means you have to follow a recipe or at least a plan and stay focused. It can't just be slung together by accident. Without care and attention, you could easily, for example, pick up the wrong jar from the cupboard, and instead of making carrot and coriander soup, make carrot and Chinese 5-spice soup, which in case you're wondering actually isn't as bad as you expect it to be, but it's still not great. The way you were made was fortunately very different. You weren't an accident, you weren't created when God was half interested in something else. In fact, before anybody on this earth had any idea that you existed, you held unimaginable worth. It can be quite something to get our heads around. It's quite easy to find the beauty and the worth in other people sometimes, but far harder to see it in ourselves. I hope you'd say that you hold the Bible as your book of truth, that you believe what's written in there, and actually it says some very important things about each of us. And I wanted to just look at two of those today and challenge you to believe those. First of all, you were made. It'll be no surprise that I come to Psalm 139, verse 13, where it says, "For it was you who formed my inward parts. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. That I know very well." We've spoken before about God's good works, about those good things God's done for us that we hold on to in these uncertain times, remind us of a good God. Carol has said that she's been trying to make a list of blessings every day, writing down those good things she's spotted. Whether it's the big things or whether it's just hearing the birds singing, they're all part of God's good works. So we know that God's works are wonderful, and you're one of them. You're not here by chance or by accident. You were fearfully and wonderfully made. When I've heard people speak about these verses before, they've said that the word fearfully can also be translated as reverence or awe, the things that make you stop and stare, the sunrise or the wild sea or sunlight coming through the woods. They all make you stand and they make you stare. They're just incredible. You feel reverence, you feel awe. And that's how God feels when he looks at you. He stops and he stares. For it did intrigue me that it was translated fearfully. It wasn't translated, "I praise you because I am awesomely and wonderfully made." It wasn't translated, "made with reverence." It was translated as fearfully. So I had a little bit of looking around, and I noticed that the Hebrew word is actually more often translated as fear or afraid than it is reverence and awe. So clearly this fear bit of it is really important. So when I was thinking about what am I afraid of and in awe of, the first thing that came to my mind was a thunderstorm. Where we used to live in Brixham, we were really high up, and there was one night in particular where there was this incredible thunderstorm, and we were right up in the clouds with it. It was all around us, and it was just terrifying, but you couldn't take your eyes off it. You couldn't just go to bed and wait for it to pass over because it was just too magnificent to watch. I think that gives a completely different perspective really on fearfully and wonderfully made. Not only are you so incredibly made that you're worthy of reverence and awe, you're also really powerful. God created you, carefully knitting you together, and his works are good. His works are wonderful. We know that well when we see spring flowers or the sunrise or the sunsets. But he also made you with power. He made you for a purpose. And that was the second thing I wanted to look at. Psalm 139 goes on to say, "Your eyes beheld my unformed substance. In your book were written all the days that were formed for me, when none of them as yet existed." That's an amazing thought, isn't it? In God's book there's a section that's yours. Days were formed for you. God knew what Brixham was going to look like in 2020, what would be the needs of the church and the wider community, and he created you for right here and right now. If you think of the most beautiful church you've ever seen, I think of one that's got these amazing stone sculptures, stained glass windows, beautifully carved wooden altars and pulpits. Every single piece was carefully carved and carefully placed. Every brick different from the one beside it, but just right for where it needed to be. all of them came together to make this beautiful building. And that's just like us, BCC. Each one of us has a place, has a purpose that was designed by God. Whether it's your ability to connect to our youth or teach our children, whether it's your musical talent, your heart for other people, your wisdom, your hospitality, each has its part to play. The difference between us and a non-Christian is that we hand ourselves over to God to allow Him to mould us and use our gifts for His will. A person could have exceptional musical talent and create amazing secular music with that, but handed over to God, that can become the way an entire congregation comes into the presence of God, no matter how they felt when they first walked through those doors. Somebody can be a great friend, the sort of person you always rely on, and that's great. But handed over to God, that can be how an entire church stays in close relationship with each other, keeping everybody safe under one wing, noticing when one starts to go astray or needs a bit of extra support. Or it could be that love becomes so deep that people around the world become part of your family, and your heart for them is just as strong as your heart for people under your own roof. However, I hope you can see that your worth doesn't increase or decrease with what you do. You can choose what you do with your worth and your purpose, but you are made by a God whose works are wonderful, and therefore so are you. The breath in our lungs is from a spirit so powerful, it raised a man from the dead. Therefore you are powerful. It's from God, so there's nothing you can do that's going to make you worth less. For while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. I think it's so important to be aware of that and have it as part of the rock beneath our feet. So I challenge you every morning this week, just read those couple of verses. Really take them to heart, take them in. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and that I know very well. One note just to end on is just, we have teachers in our church because there are messages we need to hear. We have people whose gift is hospitality because we need to feel welcomed and at home. We have people who love deeply because we need to be loved deeply. So if you have a need at the moment, talk to someone about it. Whether it's prayer or love or practical help or guidance in a time of doubt, please reach out. It's part of our purpose as a church. Let's take a moment just to pray together, to take a breath and focus on our God. Our good Father, thank you for your amazing works, things you've done for us and this amazing world you surround us with. Thank you that you say we are one of your wonderful works, that we have worth and we were made for an important purpose. Help us to spend time in your presence so we can realise more deeply that we are fearfully and wonderfully made by you, a good God. Amen. The song I'd like to encourage you to listen to this week is Good, Good Father. The chorus says, I'm loved by you, that's who I am. When people ask who we are, we often say our name. My name is made up of my first name that was chosen by my parents and my surname is my husband's name. So my name is a huge part of my identity. But also a massive part of our identity is that we are loved by God. That's who we are. It's who you are. You are loved by God. So I hope you all have a good week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care.